Today, folks, I want to discuss one of a really cool new feature that we are enabling as part of the Microsoft Graph Toolkit for our latest release, which is search components that are now baked into the Graph Toolkit. Today, we're going to really focus on these components and see the power and the richness of these components. But before, if you've never heard about the Graph Toolkit, I'd love to give you a little bit of a quick run through of what the toolkit is. So the toolkit is a collection of reusable framework agnostic components and auth providers that allow you to work and access Microsoft Graph. Think about them as drag and drop components inside your app where you don't have to think about how to authenticate, how to deal with caching, how to deal with throttling, how to deal with styling, how to deal with looking like M365. It's all done for you. So the components are fully functional. They're really just, you add them to your page, magic happens, but they're fully customizable. So if you want them to match your corporate brand or you want them to have different behaviors, well, you can absolutely do that. And they work with any web framework on all modern browsers. So you want to work in React, we got you covered. But you want to work in Angular, in Vue, plain old HTML, Blazor, anything you're thinking of, the Graph Toolkit will actually work for you. Why should you care about the toolkit? First, it cuts on development time. If you're like me, I'm a very lazy developer. If I can use something that is already available out there that has been tested and proven, I'll be happily getting these components and putting them in my app so I can focus on my business value rather than building people pickers and person cards and avatars and all these things that are fairly similar from one app to the next. You also care because they're beautiful, but they're flexible. So we are leveraging our Fluent 2 design system here at Microsoft, where all the components now, they just feel like they're part of Microsoft 365. So if your app is participating in the M365 experience by living in SharePoint, in Teams, in Outlook, in Office.com, well, this will make your life way easier because it's just going to be the same thing. But you can also fully customize them if you want to make it very similar to your own brand. And finally, it just works everywhere. It works on the browser, works on Electron, works on mobile, works anywhere you're thinking of. But today we have a really, really nice surprise. Well, it is finally live. We launched today, approximately 30 to 40 minutes ago. The blog post is available if you go on devblogs.microsoft.com. It will be one of the latest blog posts that you're going to see there. The Microsoft Graph Toolkit v3 is now fully available, supported by our team. We can't wait to see you try this out and implement it in your app. We've been working on this project to get the Graph Toolkit to v3 for the last 18 to 24 months. We're really looking for your feedback. So we're excited about the opportunity to add new capabilities in your app. But today, let's focus on one thing only that really brings a new set of capabilities to the Graph Toolkit, which is our search components. Our search components are two separate capabilities, two separate components. One which is a search box that allows you to search, to basically enter a search query. And second, a search result component that allows you to render results coming back from Microsoft Search, living on the /search/query endpoint of Microsoft Graph. So let's start with going through a very simple demo that we have in our storybook, just to show you kind of the potential of such a component. So let's start. I'm here. I'm in my environment. The first thing you're going to notice now, you see 3.0.0. It's probably not as exciting as it is for you than it is for me, but we're really, really excited to get this one out of the door. Super, super excited. So here's a good example of how you can get started with search. So as you can see in the HTML here, there are two things: an MGT search box and an MGT search results component. The first one has absolutely no properties, no attributes configured or whatsoever. And the second one has one, which is the entity types. Here it just means that the results should only bring back drive items. Drive items, what are they? They are basically files and folders across Microsoft 365. So they can be in SharePoint, they can be in OneDrive, they can be basically anywhere in Microsoft 365. These are kind of the foundation of building search-driven applications with the Microsoft Graph Toolkit. How do they connect to each other? Well, the search box here will emit some events saying that the search term has changed, and you will take that query from the search box and add it or apply it to the search result. So let's go look at the JavaScript code that we have here, which is, by the way, very, very simple, right? So here, the only thing I'm doing is I'm getting my search box, I'm getting my search results using the query selector on the tag name, actually. And here I am listening to a search term changed event. So that's the glue between our search box and our search results. And I just need to set my query string to be the content of my event that has been emitted by my search box. So very, very, very simple capabilities, really not a lot of code to build an experience like the following. So let me do this here. Let me go there and let me search for Contoso. And now when I hit enter, automatically I can find all the Contoso drive items that are anywhere in Microsoft 365. Here, I did not specify a specific location or a subpath or whatever, which are all things that you can do. But I went the most generic possible, where I can find these components. These components can automatically, if I click on it, it's going to automatically open up the document. I see my folders, I see all type of things. At the bottom, you can see our paging component, which allows me to go from one page to the next. And you will see that we have a lot more configuration possible with this component, but we wanted to keep it as simple as possible for this demo. So that's really the core of the capabilities that we have. But this is an MGT component, a Graph Toolkit component. So what does it mean? It means that it integrates with the rest of the toolkit. How? First, it supports our brand new toggle capabilities for our theming. So if I put it to be color code in dark, boom, automatically my results are now in dark mode. You can configure that. You can bring your own theming also in there with your own colors very easily. Another capability that is interesting is the fact that now we have the ability to go in and have our person card directly in there. So it really helps with identifying who's the author or the creator of such files. And you can start looking around and finding, oh, so it's Megan, which reports to Diego, which reports to Patty. Basically, we're really reusing a lot of the components that the Graph Toolkit is making available. So this is really like a simple capability. You add to your page two different tags, these two ones, the MGT search box and the MGT search results, and there you go, you're good to go. But potentially you will want to build a much more advanced application with this, and that's what I want to showcase some of the really cool customization options we have with the Graph Toolkit search component. So let me go here. Let me show you this app. This app ships with the Microsoft Graph Toolkit. If you want to run it, you're absolutely free to go. You will have all the instructions on our repo, aka.ms/mgt. This is our hero app that basically showcases all of the capabilities of the Graph Toolkit in a much more advanced way, where you can really see some sort of real life scenarios as part of the toolkit. One of them being having a search-driven application. So here, I can go in here, can hit on search and say Contoso. I'm logged in already. And here you're going to find a couple of things. The first thing you're going to find is this here. Not only with support V1 endpoint of search, but we also support the beta endpoint of search, which means that we support Q&A, bookmarks, places. We support a lot of the extensions of Microsoft Search. So in here, when it found a bookmark in my bookmark system in Microsoft Search and it highlighted it for me, similar to how Office.com or the SharePoint default experience does it. Then afterwards, I can find a couple of sites. Here, I find a PDF file, and I can go from one to the next here. So a couple of capabilities that are really interesting. The first one is the fact that I can fully customize the rendering of these things. So for example, if I go to Files, here I've completely redone the rendering of my files. I'll show you the code in just a moment, where we're basically using this as a way to get the data, make sure the data is clean, that it's easy to render, and then afterwards render it as part of a nice grid provided by the Fluent UI team. Really, really cool stuff. Something also that we do, if I go back here, and I search, for example, for Megan, you also have the ability to search for other types of content, in this case, people, and we are rendering you the full experience using the Microsoft Graph Toolkit components right in there. If I go to external here, it should tell me that I didn't find anything for Megan, so let me go and try Microsoft 365. We also support connector data. So if you want to ingest your own line of business data inside Microsoft 365 to make it part of the search experience, you will be able to easily bring that component in there. And it really, really helps with bringing line of business, SQL databases, on-premises SharePoint data. All of that are external items that are being ingested directly inside your Microsoft 365 tenant. So let me show you a little bit of code before I hand it over to Paolo. First, here, I'm showing you my header, where we have this nice component right here, where basically here I'm using our React components, where I just need to say, hey, when there's a search term changed, just run this function, and it's going to automatically orchestrate my redirect to my search page. It's going to assign the search term to my app context, and so on and so forth. Then my search page is fairly simple, right? I have a tab list. I have 4 different, let's call them verticals or silos or source of information for search. And I have 4 specific custom components are in here, one which is all results, one which is files, external items, and people results. So let me show you the all results, which is very, very, very simple, right? In search results, I have 2 things. A first search result, which is here, where I specify which entity types I care about. In this case, it's bookmark, because I just care about the bookmarks that are in there, and I just care about the first one. I just want to show the top #1 bookmark that I find. And here, I just say, by the way, if the user hasn't already consented to read the bookmarks, I want the user to consent when we're going to run this search query. So this is one configuration of the search results with a little bit more details in here, right? Second thing here is my search results at the bottom, where I can pass in an array of different types of content: drive item, list item, site, where I will need these 2 scopes, and where I will want to fetch the thumbnail of these items. So if a thumbnail is available, we will actually print it on the screen for you. Another really, really good example is how it can be super simple also. People result is literally a one-liner, right? Where we have entity types, where we just specify, I want to find the 21st people that match this search term, and that is it. So it really provides a rich set of customization options, but also you can really use it out of the box to render what you want. Finally, let's look at file result. File result here is actually a lot more complicated than all the rest. So let's look at this search results here. In this search results, I say, I want this type of entity. I want to fetch a thumbnail. I want to provide a query template. If you're used to SharePoint search with their keyword query language, it's very similar here, where you say, I want to use a search term, but also I want to augment it to be just this type of content type, or this path, or this managed property equals this value. I want to also bring more managed properties so I can play with them. In this case, I want to bring the created by, the last modified date time, the title, and the default encoding URL. I want to change the size of my pages. So here I'm going to do 30 items. That's why we saw 30 items earlier. But also here, I'm going to enable cache. So look at this. If I go back to files here, you're going to see that here I only have one. Let me go Contoso. You're going to see how quick these things are. If I go to page 2, it's going to fetch it. If I go to page 3, it's going to fetch it. But if I go back to page 2, it's going to be instantaneous because we actually cache the results in your browser. So you don't have to re-ask for it. It's going to cache it for a couple minutes, and afterwards it's going to expire, and then you're going to go back. And how do we render this really nice looking grid? Well, we're using here our file template. And the file template here is just a simple data grid provided by Fluent UI, where we pass in our items, which is our drive items that were found by the search query. So it's a really, even though it's a complex component, it really enables you to reuse a lot of what you have been using to build your component. So we're really looking forward to what you will be building with this search component. We're looking for your feedback. This component is in preview for now. It's not fully V1. It's part of our V3, but it's in preview. We're looking for the feedback. Please come to our repo, log issues, log feature requests. We'd love to hear you on these capabilities. Back to you, Vesa.
Excellent. Thank you, Seb, on that one. Really, really cool. And thank you, Gavin, helping on the background on the questions and helping, of course, creating the capabilities. This is really, really cool. So thank you both on that one.